A new study out this week has revealed disturbingly high levels of microplastics in the human brain. And while the headline may be shocking, what's the real long-term impact on your health? Joining us to answer that question is Dr. Joseph Mercola, a board-certified family medicine osteopathic physician. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us.
Well, thank you for having me on today, Mary. It's a great pleasure.
For viewers who may not know, what are microplastics and how do they get inside the human body?
Well, microplastics are very tiny plastic particles, and they come from larger plastics when larger plastics break down. And these plastics, they're very durable, and they continue to decompose. Instead of decomposing, they break down into smaller and smaller particles, very different than natural products. So when they break down into these smaller particles, they're actually absorbed into the food chain, and then other animals eat them, and then eventually we eat them. But we also get them through the water we drink, especially if we're drinking plastic water bottles, and even in the air we breathe, Mary.
There were alarming numbers in the study, including research that found some brain samples contain the same amount of microplastics found in a plastic spoon. Also found that people with dementia had up to 10 times as much plastic in their brains as anyone else. What were your biggest takeaways from this?
Well, this is deeply troubling because our brain is very active. We're constantly working and thinking, and these microplastics that we're finding in the brains aren't inert. They continuously release something called an endocrine disrupting chemical, and they damage your cell's ability to generate cellular energy. And this is exactly what you need to repair and regenerate your body. And I've known about this for decades, which is why I wrote my recent best-selling book, Your Guide to Cellular Energy. The implications for this are staggering, especially with this study, which brings, in a very reputable journal, Nature. Because can you imagine a future where our entire collective brain power is diminished and really crippling our ability to innovate and even perform basic tasks, simple basic tasks?
The study found a 50% increase compared to a similar study in 2016. Is an increase that quick concerning to medical professionals? And should we only expect those numbers to climb from here?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But this issue isn't new. These dangers of plastic pollution have been known for decades, and the exponential growth in plastic production is certainly cause for alarm.
What kind of damage do plastic deposits cause? I mean, is there a way to eliminate or flush them from your brain or body?
Oh, there sure is, yes. So these particles are far more than just a mere inert contaminants. They're actively agents of harm. And by leaching these endocrine disrupting chemicals, they poison our cell's ability to make the cellular energy. And fortunately, there are things you can do. And of course, the number one thing you can do is prevention. That's the best strategy almost in every case. So you want to limit your exposure to these. And understanding that, too, these plastics are fat soluble, so they tend to migrate into your body fat. And so when maintaining a healthy body weight is going to be clearly a very smart strategy, and it's going to help you develop a resilience and resistance to some of the complications. But you also want to radically reduce your use of plastic. And you can do this by essentially being very careful about using plastic contact in your food or your water. So you want to avoid plastic water bottles, especially if it's in the sun. And any other fluids you're drinking, like milk products would be another common one, because these EDCs, these endocrine disrupting chemicals, they migrate from the plastic right into your food. So, avoid that. Now, interestingly, there's studies, what can you actively do? Say you're doing all these things, and how do you get them out of your body, which I think is the crux of your question. So one of the things you can do, and this is really interesting, it's not proven yet, we still need studies to document it, but there's substantial evidence from other toxins similar to plastics that when you engage in sauna practice, where you get your body temperature up, over 100 degrees, sometimes as high as 100, 203, and you do that on a regular basis, you can eliminate these toxins. And there's support for this in Finland, which probably has the most sauna use in the world historically. And when these studies show is that there's the single most important factor when they examine overall mortality, their mortality decreases by 50%. And there's a large number of other things that you can do, and I talk about in my book, Your Guide to Cellular Energy.
Dr. Mercola, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll continue to follow the story.